What up, YouTube? Thanks for hanging out. You can watch a buy and sell Dynasty Fantasy Football show today. Coming at you with your host here, Kendall VanDerBilt of the Get Right Fantasy Network and the Fantasy Football Tavern. With me, as always, my co-host and good buddy, Evan Sather. Evan, how we doing? You excited to talk some buy sells?
You know it. It is pure buy-sell season now that we're finally almost halfway through February, if you can believe it. So it's February 12th at the time we're recording this episode, so we've got a little bit of data to go off of to recommend these buy-sells, but right now it's still early, and if your league is that super active with trades in the offseason, you're not going to want to miss the rest of this episode. We got plenty of good stuff to talk about later this episode.
So keep in mind, right, with buys and sells, very different than redraft. What I mean is the methodology behind the madness. It's not just you should sell or you should buy. It might be that. It also might be if this opportunity comes across or this particular buyer, player, team situation comes by. Sometimes it's an opportunistic take. I think in a lot of our times just blindly saying, buy or sell is a little bit, it's not nuanced enough for a wonderfully nuanced game like Dynasty. So definitely listen to the takes and feel free to get in the comments or our Discord and hash it out a little bit. We'll go much deeper there as well. So without further ado, let's talk some players. We'll probably have time for about 2 buys, 2 sells each. So we'll get through 10 players today, and we'll keep this coming back at you. So again, stay tuned. Evan, who do you want to start off with? Let's start with a buy. Positive note. Hot takes. Who do you want to start with as your first buy?
I would love to start with Isaiah Bond, who was a rookie wide receiver undrafted with the Cleveland Browns. This is a guy that is not going to leave a good taste in your mouth if you have been paying attention to the news about him, because his draft stock completely plummeted after he was dealing with a sexual assault scandal while he was in college at University of Texas, Hook 'em Horns. He was projected to go very high, somewhere between like second and third round pick. He was projected to go if he didn't have the scandal with him. So I don't necessarily view him as a good person per se, but this is Dynasty Fantasy Football we're talking about here. We're judging based on potential talent, not necessarily personality. But it also matters to a certain extent, because you don't want a player that's constantly in trouble with the law the way Rashee Rice has been, and somebody like a Deshaun Watson, this guy's quarterback, who the Browns are stuck paying because they kind of wanted to treat him like their franchise quarterback, I say with air quotes in case you can't see me on screen. And it's looking like the quarterback situation may not necessarily get better for the Browns, but regardless if it's Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson, assuming he can even suit up again after 2 Achilles tears, Bond is in a situation in which he has hardly anybody in competition aside from like a Harold Fannin Jr. A wide receiver in the Browns offense has to catch the football. And Jerry Jeudy did a shit job as the Cleveland Browns lead wide receiver. And Kendall, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe Jerry Jeudy is, I think he's an upcoming free agent, if I'm not mistaken.
I remember him being on my free agent list charts there. So yes, he is indeed a free agent.
Actually, he's got 1 more year, but he also has a $16.7 million dead cap. Jeudy is expected to be a hot trade target option. So,
I'm looking at that wrong. I literally had him listed as a free agent. I think everyone actually had him listed as a free agent. That's such a dead cap hit. What a bad contract, man. He plummeted.
Yeah, and honestly, who gives a shit if you get that wrong? Because that's how irrelevant Jerry Jeudy has been in this offense. So with hardly any competition and David Njoku not expected to come back to the Browns, I think this is Isaiah Bond going to be reaping the benefits of a lack of competition. It's not like Cedric Tillman is going to be their future. And yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people who may not want to invest in a lesser known asset like an Isaiah Bond, but just because he has a lack of opportunity, you might be thinking that might not be a good thing, but he has shown that he's got a potentially good, crazy ADOT. Even if he only gets 4 targets in the passing game, He averaged 22.2 yards per catch in the 2 catches he had against our Bears in Week 15, for example. And even before the Browns bye week last year, he was seeing 6 and 7 targets in Weeks 4 and 5, respectively. This is definitely a guy that can get open, even if the pass from the quarterback is not good or if it's just uncatchable for whatever reason. So, Isaiah Bond, super young guy, 21 years old, will be 22 later on, but I like his potential a lot, even in a disappointing rookie season. So if you can buy him low in an Isaiah Bond, go get him, man. See how low you can go. I mean, lowball the person with Isaiah Bond. Pay a fourth, because I think Isaiah Bond is worth a little more than that. I think he has high third-round pick value right now. So if you can get him for less than that, I think that's a great addition to your roster if you need a wide receiver.
Yeah, and also I'm looking at the this is a courtesy of my friends over at Dynasty League Fantasy Football, DLF over here. Just giving
shout
them
out DLF.
Yeah, good dudes. Well, wait, totally not paid by them. I actually pay them for this service. But hey, good tools, man. So no worries, man. So hey, you want to sponsor us? Give us a shout. Love what you're doing. There's some interesting names here. I was just kind of looking and thinking, hey, there are some. Everyone's got favorite dart throws. I think you're right. Isaiah Bond has some upside and some vacated targets, just objective upside plus talent, plus a news story that kind of overblown a little bit and had some issues with it. I feel like there's some guys here that I would absolutely flip. I used to be huge on Tez Johnson, but then Jalen McMillan started kind of doing something, and there's a lot of mouths to feed over there. And I might want somebody with a little bit more upside in my view. Maybe a little risky, but certainly some upside. So some of these guys like Tank Dell versus Isaiah Bond, that's actually kind of an interesting one for me too. If you're on the Tank Dell will basically never play in NFL again, and when he does, he might die. That's kind of an interesting piece where you can put it together there. So I do like this as a interesting piece that you find less interesting, but somebody else sees as a shiny object for your shiny object that someone else sees as trade fodder. I think it's perfectly fair. Let me get my shiny thing, you get your shiny thing, and it's low cost, so let's see what happens. This is a very gettable trade, and a nice called shot. I like it. I like it a lot. Let me no, go ahead.
Oh, do you want to just go back and forth with buy and sells, or do you want me to give you my second?
Let's dive in. Give me a sell, and then I'll run into two here. Who's the first sell you want to jump into?
My first sell that I want to put out there is Chase Brown. Now, if you've ever been paying attention to my Barely Fantasy channel, one of my most popular shorts is Sell Chase Brown in Dynasty, which was from last January, if you can believe it, of 2025. Chase Brown is a running back with too much risk that I don't like having to bank on. The vast majority of his value comes from red zone opportunities, which he doesn't see a lot of because the Bengals offense sucked last year, and I don't think it's going to get much better, being that the Bengals have not shown a lot of interest yet in fixing their offensive line and catching checkdown passes from Joe Burrow and getting nowhere after the catch. Now, I know that a lot of people who heavily invested in Chase Brown or want to buy him may not agree with that part because they're saying, well, Evan, who gives a shit if he doesn't get anywhere after the catch? It's the fact that he's catching the football that gets you that sweet PPR point every time he does that, and you'd be right to say that. Now, that being said, I've preached this a million times. Not only does Chase Brown not get anywhere after the catch, he's not very efficient on the ground in most games, and he is not a good pass blocker. They have to go with somebody like a Samaje Perine to be in on downs where that Joe Burrow needs a little extra protection thanks to his terrible offensive line. Chase Brown's an awful blocker. But every time he's on the field, at least you can count on some production in the passing game, but with how wildly inconsistent and bad that Bengals offense was, and most carries that he's been getting has been anywhere between 8 and 12 before that bye week. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Samaje Perine was dealing with some injury after the bye week, which led to a big increase in usage from Chase Brown, which he may not have fallen into the end zone, but it is at least good high-end RB2, low-end RB1 value. And that's pretty much where I like having Chase Brown in redraft leagues, where I hate drafting Chase Brown as an RB1. He's a solid RB2. He should be the second running back on your roster in those leagues, but I don't want to get too far in that rabbit hole. Chase Brown has a lot of risk associated with it because you can't count on him getting 14 targets in the passing game every week, and you can't count on him getting 19 carries every single week. He's going to have a limited ceiling all over the place with just how awful that offense is. Chase Brown is probably going to be sticking with the Bengals for quite some time. He's already, as of 2 weeks ago, he's already talking with the organization about signing an extension. If they pay Chase Brown, that's going to be interesting to see because he's essentially a cheaper Joe Mixon to have on their roster. If anybody remembers that guy who disappeared on the Texans. So I'm out on Chase Brown. I do not want to keep him or count on him as a top 10 running back. So I would sell him for as much as I can to get a sweet draft pick at that point. Like if you can get him easily for a first, go ahead and do that. I'm out on Chase Brown.
It's a tough one for me. I profited so much. Me and Phil bought Chase Brown when he was like not even a starter yet. Felt so good. I feel like I fully sold a year too early. So I hope you're right because I definitely sold him basically everywhere I had him before this year, which felt good until it didn't. So I as much as I love the player, I loved him in college. He was a really nice workhorse. Actually, he was a 3-down back. Didn't quite have the size, but. Yeah, it just feels like I feel like Chase Brown's this guy where like even if this year is above what you think, it's just not going to be forever. I don't think he becomes a James Cook where it's like he feels a little bit immune for a little bit longer. I think he's this guy that's been pretty. How many good backs are there in the NFL that just get competition from another good back and it just kind of kills it because they are not elite. They're good, but they're not elite, right? Kenneth Walker is a significantly better running back than Chase Brown, like significantly. He doesn't score like it because of situation, and those can change so fast. Did anyone see the Seahawks drafting Charbonnet when they already had Walker? It happened though, right? It absolutely happened. It can happen again. Most teams are going to this multiple back rotation. It's probably coming for Chase Brown at some point. I feel like the thing in his favor is, man, that team has some other holes on it. So maybe he can survive in a rough RB class, maybe for another year, but maybe not. I think the RB free agency is pretty solid, in my opinion, and time's got to come for him. Even if he dips in value even a little bit, that's still a little bit.
Yeah, and that's kind of going in line with why I was saying sell him because they pair him with another running back. He started last year with Zach Moss. This year it was Samaje Perine until he got hurt, and then he saw the usage. So he's counting on an injury to have more value in general, and I don't like that. I think Chase Brown is not valuable enough when he's only getting 8 to 10 carries per game, and everybody in the first 7 weeks of the season got super frustrated just because of the lack of volume he was able to get and take advantage of. If he didn't fall in the end zone, you were completely toast. So that's the horror of holding on to Chase Brown. I'm out.
Indeed.
All right, Kendall, I think I've blabbed enough about my first picks. How about you? What's your first buy?
Yeah, let's talk about... All right, I'm going to stick in the running back position because I feel like it a little bit. Actually, I don't even have the card up, so no, I do. Let's talk about it. I think you should buy Bashal Tutin. I think you should have already bought Bashal Tutin in the draft when I was like, dude, second round. My big thing was I took Bashal Tutin over Jack Besh absolutely everywhere. I might have taken Bashal a little bit spicier. I was taking him over Jaden Higgins too at some point, which probably is going to age a little bit poorly. But I really like this kid. This take is kind of based on the fact that his price isn't crazy. So I have an uncertain, futures take on Bashal Tutin. He doesn't have to hit. He doesn't have to pop. But I think the opportunity cost is relatively low. And I think his cost right now is actually lower than when he was drafted. It's improving a little bit because the team's great. But the idea is he was a combine freak. He has a pretty elite level speed and quickness comparison. Basically, I think there was a stat. I forget who put it out, but he was the best, most athletic running back taken at the point of the draft that he was, which is a consequence of it being a really deep running back class. And then they all got pushed down. But the idea is in most draft classes, he's much higher up the board, much, much higher up the board. If you compared him with this draft class he's about to go into, he would be significantly higher up the board for sure. Would have compared a little bit better. So the take here is he's a solid pass catcher. He always has been. He doesn't drop passes. He just gets a little bit low usage. You saw the team. He had a lot of low usage, but he scored touchdowns. His red zone efficiency is a lot better than the guy ahead of him. It always was. He just isn't the complete running back and isn't the experienced NFL player that the guy in front of him is, right? And I like ETN. ETN showed out. I mean, he was obviously elite in college. And, had an interesting NFL career. He had some highs and lows, but ETN had a great year. There was no reason to rush out Bashal Tutin for all those, just getting to the end zone carries. But as soon as they got in the red zone, almost kind of like an Isaac Tesla, he was catching passes in the red zone. He was running them in. And there's something that's pretty indicative is, hey, Rook that's barely seen the field, you're going to get a red zone touch. Do you know how debilitating it is in a locker room if you don't get in there? Right? It's like anybody could have got in there, but he just absolutely, old Belichick style, did his job consistently. And one stat that I kind of like, it's not one stat, it's across the board. Any player that as a rookie just had high levels of efficiency, but at the running back position in particular, I like them going into the next year because I think the team, the coaching, and the offseason look, they're just going to look and they're going to see what we see, which is situationally, he was nice. Why don't we up that a little bit? They're not saying elite usage. They're saying, why don't we up that a little bit? That is a green arrow in the right direction. Green arrows in the right direction mean if opportunity knocks, it was already in the works. There's less friction to his ascent to the top. There's big stuff in the way, though. I don't not like ETN. I like the team, though. What's a huge correlation, right? I like Gibbs. Doesn't mean I hate Monty. I drafted Monty, or we like Monty, and not anymore. But, the whole point is that rushing offense was amazing. So we like that Jacksonville is now a much better team and a much better offense with the quarterback working out and still with injuries in a weird way the offense worked. Like, I think they could be even better next year. I still think Trevor Lawrence still has room to get better. He did a lot with his legs this year. He can get better throwing the passing. Some people can get healthy, which takes – that is a wide receiver core when healthy and doing its thing. Like, that's scary. And that should open up some easier boxes for Bashal Tutin, who can hit the home run. So I like him to elevate into a much better third down role next year. I can see him as a third down guy that can still get 4 targets a game. I could absolutely see that. And if they're going to get in the red zone enough, I've seen plenty of running backs that as the RB2, this always happens in Detroit for some reason, now that I'm thinking about it, that can get 4, 5, 6 touchdowns. I'm looking at him at a dynasty ranking. I would bet that he doesn't pop next year. But between next year and the year after, combine both those years, I think he does. And once he does, he's going to be on a good team with young weapons that are getting better at the right time. He'll just be walking into a good, high-powered offense where he doesn't even need all the touches, right? So it's good or great for him. But I see rare outcomes that are bad or worse than he is right now, and his cost is reasonable. So that's my general take on Bashal Tutin, little pet player of mine.
Okay, so I will ask you this then. Travis Etienne is going into free agency. The Jaguars have not shown any strong... I'm sure they do want to bring him back, but we haven't seen any hint that the Jaguars and Etienne are close to re-signing at this point. So, being that Bashal Tutin didn't have an overly impressive rookie year. Ultimately, he was fine as Etienne's backup in certain instances, like when he took 15 carries against the Chargers in Week 11, 15 for 74, averaging nearly 5 yards per carry and scored a touchdown. The Chargers defense had their struggles at times, but I'm not convinced that that's something that's sustainable for a guy like a Bashal Tutin. I'm completely agreeing with you in the fact that I think he shines as a third down running back in a solid pass catching role. But coming out of Virginia Tech, Bashal Tutin's biggest flaw was ball security. He had a lot of fumbles in his 2 years at Virginia Tech. He lost one fumble in Week 14 against the Colts after 2 fumbles. He lost one of them. And they had to bench him after only 3% of the snaps after 2 carries for 5 yards. So there is that risk factor to Tutin. He did surprise me a bit that he didn't lose the ball as much as I thought he would, but also his opportunities were limited behind ETN. Do you see, sorry it took me a while to get to this question, do you see Bashal Tutin being a part of a two-headed monster if ETN were to leave in free agency?
Yeah. I do not see Bashal Tutin as he got it. He got the role. I am saying that he could have a Woody Mark sort of dude, everyone around you just kind of sucks, and you're kind of the guy, so I guess we got to give you a lot of touches. But I think he's more talented than Woody Marks by a decent margin and also more well-rounded. And he can do the thing that Woody Marks can't do, which is just go get good positive yardage. If he doesn't fumble the football, that guy can average a high yards per carry, right? He can make that happen. Similar like how Tajay Spears has always averaged well above 4 yards per carry, almost 5. He's just quick. He's got that lateral agility. If it wasn't for injuries, I think I really like Tajay Spears. Similar, highly athletic, fast twitch player that can just get it done, right? Not too dissimilar to a James Cook. Lateral twitch, can make the first man miss. Again, not an elite prospect, but quite good. And most players don't have a great game in the NFL. We did get to see that. Like when he had an opportunity, the Chargers didn't have a great defense, but every NFL defense isn't completely horrible unless you're like one of a select few, right? Like they still have great players on the team. I think it's hard to just go out and like dominate. Like bad players don't do that in the NFL. It's everyone's too good. And at least you saw a little bit of social proof. But to your point, there was enough that very realistically said, hey, Rook, you ain't ready yet, right? And I like that, right? We'll get to him in a minute, man, but I don't like that Woody Marks, we've already seen as good as it's ever going to get, and it's only going down for him, in my opinion. Bashal Tutin didn't have that put in front of him, so he still has depressed value in the community. But the team, can you imagine several small press conferences, sideline coaching, during camp? Like, yeah, we're really excited what we're seeing from Bashal Tutin, hoping to give him some more opportunities this year. It's not going to take too much. Like, you can see the coach saying that because it's good. Like, they want to negotiate against ETN a little bit and talk the rookie up. Like, that's natural. When that happens, he's already going to surge in market a little bit. I think he's going to be kind of a fun guy to want to take some shots on. I just want to get some earlier shares of him. I've already gotten a lot of people offering me trades for him, though, so I think word might be out. He's clearly on some markets. But if there's a take here, it's like, Evan, I don't disagree. I'm trying to take a middle-of-the-road take without saying, hey, he's got a full Chase Brown ascent. That's a take too far. Don't pay that price for him. If you can get it, I would sell it. But I think he's going to appreciate value and have a nice, consistent role in a good offense. Those things are always correlated to good fantasy success, right? Look at a Jerick McKinnon, okay? Less talented than this, less opportunity for him. But when things lined up, he was a literal league winner for the team and for your fantasy team. And I think he's better in all categories. So that's kind of how I see him.
Yeah, I think Liam Cohen did a good job with both ETN and Tutin. But before we get too deep on Bashal Tutin, who is your sell?
Who is my sell? Let's get to guys. I got some spicy sells today. I'm just gonna take the rest of the show because you guys are gonna hate me. All right, let's get crazy. Let's go there. I would seriously consider selling Emeka Egbuka. Now, I love this player. We were really, really high on him. I have traded for this player in multiple leagues. You've heard me and Phil talking about him. If you were to redo that draft, could he potentially be the 101 over Genti? I think it's is that correct? It might be. I don't know. I've loved the NFL ready talent. We called that. We love him going to a Baker-led offense. We like that. But the premise that I would like to extend to the audience here and to you, Evan, is the Emeka Egbuka hype. I mean, the train left the tracks and flew to the moon. I mean, he was the most player in the moment. He was talked about for weeks. Like, there was never a more beloved player. There was trades for 4 first-round picks for him. They were looking at him like Justin Jefferson. I've never seen people. I take that back. I've seen people. We've all fallen. We love to fall in love with fantasy football. It's fun. Being a fan's fun. But when everyone's in on a player, most sharps aren't going to go buy him because they know they can't afford him, and they know that you're not going to sell him unless it's clearly too much. Now the market, for those that are super in on Egbuka, they have this opportunity to make the counterclaim and say, hey, Baker didn't look great. The coach is on the hot seat. Team's got some problems. Legitimately, they got more than one hole to fix. That O-line's got some problems. I think the coaching play calling's got some issues. Baker without Liam Cohen's maybe got some issues. It didn't look like the same team, right? And huge, McMillan looked good. I thought McMillan might be dead now to the NFL. That neck injury was scary. And then he comes back and looks awesome. Super, super good. And then all of a sudden, Godwin just isn't dead. I don't think he's the same guy, but he isn't dead. And Evans is coming back for a year, right? So is he going to be good next year? Yeah. But you tell me this, Evan, if he's good, not great next year, if he's got some good games, maybe a couple little, he had some dropsies here and there and that type of thing. If he's just good, how many games of, it was a good game, does he fade from like the guy, 3 first-round picks, to just like Ladd McConkey? We love Ladd. I love Ladd. But Emeka Egbuka is valued significantly higher than Ladd right now.
Right.
And I don't see him falling, but I do see him fading a little bit. And just we can have hype take fatigue. You rarely does a player go up here and then just get down to like a good situation. We don't go back to like, okay, yeah, no, we're in again. We temper expectations. We don't want to be hurt or wrong again. I think you can sell him for a ridiculous peak value that he may never get back to. If you can sell him for just a ridiculous amount, near 2.5 average first of approximate value or more, some people are like, those people are out there. If you can do that, I don't know he gets back to it. If you wait too long, there's a chance he's worth just 2 firsts.
Can I answer your question, Kendall?
Please.
So comparing Egbuka to Ladd McConkey's situation with the Chargers, this is entirely different because the Chargers don't have a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin that are in the way right now. Evans, the rest of his contract after this year was voided. Evans has hinted that he does want to come back to play more football for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We need to see how this plays out in order to properly judge Emeka Egbuka. Now, there's a reason he was drafted 19th overall, because he is the guy. He just has to wait his turn in this offense because we got to wait for Godwin and Evans to lead the team. That being said, I think this is a patience game with Egbuka. You don't draft him in this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense expecting him to produce right away. You sit on him for 2 seasons, let him develop, make sure he doesn't get hurt, and then I think by 2027 we see Egbuka show why he was drafted where he was. Because teams don't typically spend first-round picks on wide receivers if they're not going to use them. You know what I mean? So Chris Godwin just happened to surprise people that he's still valuable after all of his injuries. Jalen McMillan showed a pulse, especially in Week 17 against the Dolphins. So there's no shortage of talent on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I think this is a waiting game with Egbuka, where Ladd McConkey, it wasn't a brand new system with Jim Harbaugh, and Greg Roman was doing a fucking shitty job with that Chargers offense. With Mike McDonald now running that team, I think we're going to see Ladd McConkey's situation be a lot better. But in summary, I would say I don't want to sell Egbuka if I have him because this is a waiting game with him.
Yeah, I don't actually disagree. I think there's a temperate take here, right? He's not a blanket sell for me. There's a market that wants to buy him and thinks they can buy him low, but they're still going to pay an outrageous price because they just want to acquire him. And I'm not selling for a good price. I'm selling for full hype Emeka Egbuka. I can get him price. And that's probably approximately 3 firsts. And if you want to negotiate down from there, like I'm not saying 3 firsts. I'm saying that spin that value into other players, right? You could probably like a first plus there's some guys that people don't like. Like I like Zay Flowers. Other people really hate him, right? So there's a value difference there. You can get this plus that plus that. If you're in a 10-team league, I wouldn't sell him. Every team's good. You need to consolidate talent at the top. But in a 12-team, 3 wide receiver, double flex, tight end premium that has deep benches, deep IR, where depth actually can win you titles at the end of the year, that's the situation where I say, does my team actually need a little bit more juice besides just one player? Am I thin at a particular position and I can get an RB plus a down tier from him plus a couple draft picks? There are situations where I think you can spin him into a combination that is more valuable to your team now and gives you flexibility in the future, but it's not for everybody. Got to find the right buyer in the right league who's going crazy for him. So we'll see. Just consider it. There's some deals out there I would do.
Okay. I think we're going to swing this back to me with another buy.
Who are you feeling?
Let's go Devon Vele.
Oh, I like this one. I like him a lot.
This is going to be a big under-the-radar pickup because, first of all, completed his 2nd season, and now he's 28 years old. He was an old 26-year-old rookie. But as we've learned from older rookies like a Tyler Shuck, don't count on rookies who are 26 and up because Vele was expected to be the 2nd wide receiver on the Denver Broncos until they decided that Pat Bryant is a little better, so then they traded Vele to get some value for him. Vele stepped in to a badly needed, depleted wide receiver core with Chris Olave stayed healthier than he has in the past, but they did not have anybody else who was worth a damn to catch the football. They were having to roll out guys like a Mason Tipton and other no-namers that you don't remember until the fantasy football season is over. But Valet looks like a guy that could be counted on as the second wide receiver in this offense when Juwan Johnson is not open for something even deeper. So you can see how low his ADP is right now. Compared to December of 2025 when he was seeing a lot more action, his ADP is plummeted right now. I am thinking that this is a really good pickup for the New Orleans Saints as I'm trying to look up his contract right now. I don't think he's going anywhere, quite frankly. I think he's going to remain with the Saints. He's in the middle of his rookie contract, which is a 4-year, $4.1 million deal. He's got 2 seasons left. No dead cap if he's released, but honestly, I think they like this guy as a 7th round surprise out of Utah. So, but I mean, answer me this, Kendall. Who the hell else are the Saints going to get in their wide receiver room? I know we haven't hit free agency yet, but I mean, with the Saints having so many needs in their offense and defense, who else are they going to throw the football to besides Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson?
I mean, that's my pro take on him would be that exact premise. I would agree there isn't much there. They have bigger needs to address. They're not in a spot where they can. Even if they pick up, like, this is like if they get the day 2 wide receiver, I don't look at that as like Vele is going to lose a bunch of touches to him. I'm going to say Vele is a veteran. He's physically better because he's 27 and been in an NFL program. He's got just history with the team. Everybody seems to like him. Look at his picture. What coach isn't going to love that? You know, and there's a reason that he moved over to the Saints and immediately had production. Some players change teams and like it takes them some ramp up. He got in the action right away, right? That also means you got a rookie throwing to another guy who kind of just came into the league a little bit. That chemistry you can see that rookie quarterbacks when they latch onto somebody and like them, that's real. Like that stays. You saw that with Caleb and Rome. I think that continues, and I think you could see that with Shook and Vele. And I think Olave clearly. People have to respect Olave, and with probably an anemic run game, but an aggressive pass calling situation, the Saints were throwing the ball more than I thought with a rookie quarterback, and he didn't look bad doing it. So if they keep throwing the ball at a relatively decent pace and try to stay in some games or come back from it, you've got a situation like the Cardinals where they were throwing a lot of passes, and guys like Michael Wilson became insanely valuable. I don't think Vele is quite like Michael Wilson is at. But the situation is eerily similar where you can see some relative upside. And like you said, his cost is nothing, man. This is one of my favorite takes I've ever heard anybody say. And if you look at the ADP curve, like, I mean, what a great buy, dude. Well, the market was here after one good game.
Yeah.
And we're going to see a lot more of those, right?
Yeah, and he's going to remain with the Saints as far as we know. Like the Saints have not made any indication that they want to release him or move on from him. He did a good job when he was healthy, despite the shoulder injury that cut his season short. He arrives after the Week 11 bye week to the Saints. I can't remember exactly when he was traded to from the Broncos to the Saints, but yeah, he was getting 7 targets, 8 targets, 5 targets, 6 targets. He caught a touchdown against the Dolphins after having a perfect 8-for-8 game for 93 yards. Like. They knew exactly what they were doing when they traded away Rashid Shaheed and then went out and got Devon Vele as a cheaper alternative to Rashid Shaheed, despite the fact that Vele's not returning kicks or punts. But I think they wanted this guy more than having to pay Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah, I agree. And a team that's massive cap issues, right? They can't afford anything. This is a player they want to keep and use because they'll probably never pay him big bucks at this point. His age is going to hamper that, but that's fine. He's happy to be on a team that utilizes him. That team needs some salary cap cut space. Like it's a match made in heaven. And I think he's there for an absolute minute. Yeah, just I can't say anything bad about the take, man. Great stuff.
All right, let's get into another sell for me now. I want to go with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, you just pissed some people off. Here we go.
That's okay. They can be pissed all they want because Shedeur Sanders is a guy that's going to be a lot easier to sell in a Superflex Dynasty league compared to a 1-quarterback league. Sanders is a guy that does not appear to be losing the job anytime soon unless Deshaun Watson is going to be coming back. But I'm fine with having some realistic ammo, we'll call it for a lack of a better way to put it, that Shedeur Sanders is likely going to remain the starter for the 2026 season, being that Watson, not only did he just settle his last 2 sexual misconduct lawsuits out of court, civil suits, but he had 2 Achilles tears within a 90-day span. No player typically comes back from that the same. I mean, the Browns are just stuck with Deshaun Watson because they signed him to be their franchise quarterback. I say in air quotes once again, like I did during the Isaiah Bond segment, and they're going to be stuck having to give him a chance to win the starting job. That being said, that contract that they paid Deshaun Watson does not guarantee him anything anymore. They just can't justify releasing him because that's a lot of money to pay a guy not to suit up for you. But that being said, Shedeur Sanders looked terrible as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. There's a big reason why Mel Kiper was so pissed off about Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th round, because he looked like a 5th-round rookie quarterback out there, even in the preseason. He is not NFL ready. This is a guy that should have been able to sit behind a veteran like an Aaron Rodgers and learn from so that he could become a more competent passer in the NFL. His completion percentage for a 5th-round rookie, I'm not that shocked about when they give him more than 30 passing attempts against opponents like the Tennessee Titans and the Chicago Bears. I mean, he had to throw a lot against the Chicago Bears because they were getting their butts kicked to our Bears, but go figure, the Browns are an awful team. There is not a lot of upside in Shedeur Sanders' game. He doesn't rush that much. He doesn't throw that many good passing touchdowns. He looks like a deer in headlights out there. The Browns have a lot of things they need to fix about their team, which it's probably not going to come with Ted Monken becoming their new head coach. I think the Browns are still in hell as a football team, and I don't think the situation gets any better for a Shedeur Sanders. If you can find a buyer for him, you could treat him as a mid to low end QB2 based off of his rookie performances, but I'm selling him for whatever I can get. Like, if you can get him for like a second in a Superflex league, that's fantastic.
Yeah, my goodness, that would be insane. I love that. I'm curious, I feel like he's a player that it's very based off of your trade partner. Some people are like us. Some people are on that fan club. Some people are on I don't know, it's going to be a fun ride. Let's see what happens, right? I think you're going to get very differing takes, but you want some volatility. Volatility means we can both get what we want. I can get a guy I don't want. You can get a guy you do want, right? That's how best trades go down, right? You're going to get more value from him. So polarizing player usually means opportunity in my eyes, and start some conversations. Here's a guy, I don't even know if I send a trade offer so much as I send hey, I'm thinking about a change, man. How do you feel? How do you feel? Just get the feelers up, and you're going to know your guy when you see it. And I can see some players wanting to take a shot. And because when a player's price is so cheap, little variations in how much you get from him actually make up a large percentage increase, right? Like going from a 3rd value to a 2nd, because they started at a 3rd, that percentage of value increase to the 2nd doesn't feel like a lot, but across 10, 15, 20 trades, that's going to make a serious dent in your portfolio in the positive direction. So I think it's pretty savvy. Evan, the thing I like most about it is the limited upside. Like, even if something good happens, don't you kind of see him as probably a career backup that has a few moments that we talk about way more in real life than are ever relevant in the fantasy street? So you think that's true?
I don't think it's either for a case like a Shedeur Sanders. I mean, it's looking that bad. Like when I saw Shedeur Sanders landed on the Browns, I was like, that's it. He is not going to have a career in the NFL. If he landed on the Steelers, I would definitely think twice about him, because he'd be in a situation where he could sit behind somebody like Aaron Rodgers and learn from. But being that they threw him into the metaphorical fire after Dylan Gabriel got injured, this is not what you do to a raw rookie 5th-round pick who needs to develop. He wasn't completely terrible, but he's in no way the Browns' future at quarterback.
I do kind of want to see him on the Jets, just because I would it would make them like watchable in terms of like how like I just want to see the crash and burn. I shouldn't say that about another human being, but I do think it would be entertaining TV.
That would be a lateral move. I would argue that would almost be worse.
I'm here for the chaos, man. Blow it up, have some fun. I mean, that's the most Browns pick of all time, dude. Like, who's Shedeur Sanders on? If you don't know anything about anybody, but you pick up 2 books, you're probably going to figure it out. It just is the most Browns thing I've ever seen in my entire life. First time in my life, I've been like, wow, Atlanta didn't take him. They could have almost become the Jets pretty quick and been the laughing stock of the league. But I digress. Who's a buy for you, Evan?
Okay, yeah, I can go to another buy unless you want to go next.
Am I up?
Yeah, you're up now.
All right, let's do it. Appreciate you. Keep me honest today. Let's do all right, let's go with a buy because my sell is going to be a little bit spicy. I don't think I've talked about this player yet. I know Phil talked about him on an episode of The Extra Point, but I didn't really get a chance to talk about my thoughts on him. I'll be kind of brief. It's not so much a long take. I think a lot of people are on this take, but we'll kind of double into it. I'm in on buying Devonta Smith. I am there. So the premise of why I like Devonta Smith is, one, I do like him as a talent. I think he's a better player than he gets credit for or gets credit on the box score for on average most days. I feel like I've been able to predict his usage, and when his usage happens the way I think it does, their offense looks good, they win games, and he looks good doing it. It's not as easy of a take as just, oh, well, A.J. Brown probably leaves, so he'll get more work, right? Like, if A.J. Brown leaves, the team's not just going to run out Devonta Smith and say, here we go, right? That's not how that would go down, right? There's going to be other weapons in the offense. That's just a thing, right? Won't be A.J. Brown, but A.J. Brown didn't earn a lot of targets, right? So this is not a, you remove A.J. Brown, he'll get all the work. The whole offense sucked. He's going to get more work because the offense can't get any worse, man. Saquon's not getting any younger, right? Tank actually looked pretty decent, had some juice, but like that running game doesn't have to function like that, all the time. And I'm saying that in a good way, right? They leaned into it in a weird way. If the offense just starts to function like the year they won the Super Bowl, I talk about player usage on the team, their role. It was my anti-Jake Ferguson take. The team just found way too much success funneling specifically to the wide receiver position and efficiency at running back. I think this team needs to work on moving the ball through the air, running through the air, as I like to call it. And I think Devonta Smith is a very, very good just run a quick slant. We know he's got some deep threat to him, right? I think players play off of him a little bit, and I just don't think that not even intermediate, but the short route stuff where he won't even get a first down. He'll get 6 to 7 yards. That is more yards per carry than they're getting on the running game, and it's way more consistent. And the dual threat that Jalen Hurts brings, I think it makes them have to be a little bit more honest, and those smaller throws can make sense. I also think this is like a quarterback size situation. Small quarterbacks like Kyler cannot throw that slant. It gets picked off so often. They can't see what's happening. Hurts a big boy that can also move the pocket, kind of get out of it a little bit. So I think there's a lot of plays where we can design shorter stuff so he can become more of a PPR king like Amon-Ra. I like that as a team offense usage more, which will then open up the deep ball stuff naturally anyways. And will also open up the running game a little bit more. So in the offseason, they go in the kitchen and cook like I think they will. I think they're going to change the way they utilize him a little bit. I can see more in the screen game a little bit for him, not because he's like the biggest speed demon ever, but I do think he's a smart player. So I see the catches going up to be more PPR. The offense will get better. And that's just going to lead to a very good season for him based on his current value. Now, he's not the youngest player in the world at 27, but with the way he plays, he doesn't take too many hits. He's not stupid. He knows how to run out of bounds. He knows how to go down. He is a smart receiver. That's why he's lasted this long at 170 pounds. Do you think Devonta Smith is an often injured player? He's 170 pounds and he rarely gets injured. He's just a smart guy. So I'm not saying to the moon, but I think he's a savvy buy at the right price, and I would consistently go out and try to make it make sense. We like to sell running backs here, Evan, quite often. Always sell a year too early and take it even if it's not perfect. I think this is a find someone with a thinner running back room, find a piece you can throw off to shore up that running back room and get Devonta Smith back. Put that together. I think that's a pretty good premise.
I love buying Devonta Smith, but not for the reasons that the fantasy football hive mind is thinking. I highly disagree with the reasoning behind buying Devonta Smith. I would much rather buy him just because I know I can count on him as a consistent flex option every single week, or wide receiver 3 at worst if you have 3 wide receiver slots. Now, the reason I say this is because football fans in general read too much into the whole wide receiver drama narrative. They think that it's worse than it probably actually is behind closed doors. Like you were just talking about, the whole Eagles offense fucking sucked. It was Kevin Patullo being awful, and it was their head coach, Nick Sirianni, being awful at running the offense. So I think we're looking up at the wrong tree here and barking up at the wrong tree here because A.J. Brown did have his problems with drops, which I'm sure came from some frustration with how bad the offense was going. But wide receiver drama is not necessarily a bad thing. It's good to see wide receivers vent their frustration with how bad things are going. Kevin Patullo is finally gone. Hallelujah for Eagles fans. They can finally have somebody hopefully better as an offensive coordinator. I can't remember if they hired his replacement yet, but that's neither here nor there. You can't do much worse than Kevin Patullo, but I digress. I love Devonta Smith in general, but I'm not buying him with the hope that A.J. Brown leaves in a trade.
I like that. I think that's the astute take. The astute take is fade the popular take, find a different reason. But there's a lot of good reasons to pick, and I like it. I wasn't even thinking about it in those terms quite as much. When you said that, the thing that came to mind for me was, he doesn't disappear in the same way Jameson Williams does in a game where they could score 30 points and sometimes J-Mo can goose. You see that with some players. And we've seen that with Devonta Smith, but that's because the entire offense threw for about 60 yards, right? I've never seen Devonta Smith have like a terrible performance when the team was functioning correctly, right? So to that point, and if the team's functioning terribly, you actually kind of know when to sit him because everything is falling apart. And still then he's probably playable. So yeah, love that. Should we get into a sell?
Let's see your next sell.
All right, let's piss some people off here. And again, I started with Emeka Egbuka, right, as a sell because there's a premise to get some value on it, not because he's a sell. He's actually a sell sometimes. It was everybody's one. Dude, if you could have sold him before the Super Bowl, my God, you could have gotten anything for him. He was so high. But savvy players are not going to go buy the player that everyone's into. You're not stupid, right? When something comes out, is it more or less expensive at the store? I mean, this doesn't take rocket science, right? Now that people that love Drake May saw him have a bad Super Bowl, but they don't see the Patriots as a bad team. So they see, oh, dude, Drake May is still to the moon. They're going to add more weapons. Colin Cowherd's take was actually, this is a team that made the Super Bowl, but is arguably still in a rebuild that's just way ahead of schedule, but was incomplete, right? The offensive weapons don't actually look very good. Hendy still got a little ways to go, apparently, right? So what I'm saying is now the I'm super into Drake May fan club, they're going to find a reason to say, hey, I think some people are going to be a little not in on Drake May anymore. Maybe they want to cash out. Maybe I want to cash in. Sometimes people will convince themselves that because a player is maybe a value, they'll actually go and overpay for him because they just want him. I've actually fallen guilty to that myself. I do it so often. I still love Drake May. This is not an anti-Drake May take. This is in Superflex. I feel there is a lot of value in down tiering to very good, but not super elite quarterbacks. But I feel like their talent is maybe mislabeled, right? I am a huge Brock Purdy fan. I think he's highly intelligent, and the way he moves in the pocket is extremely coachable, and he's got one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think he's going to be really good for a long time. God forbid the team gets healthy and has all the weapons ready. Like you saw some games where everyone was injured, and Purdy was great. Purdy's one of my favorite down tier targets. Jackson Dart, I think people love him, but they're nervous. Who they put in as offensive coordinator? Lazar, right? Like
Matt Nagy.
Oh, Nagy. Yeah, still awful. I mean, list every Bears OC and head coach for fucking ever, and you're going to get a lot of these names that we're going to hate, right? you get the point here, right? Like there's a lot of reasons to be nervous, but they're young and I just don't think they're going anywhere. So I think there's an opportunity to down tier from Drake May and get a really good piece draft pick or two and down tier to a quarterback that is just less snazzy, right? I mean, Drake May is the new Josh Allen. We're all into it, right? If I can down tier into a Trevor Lawrence plus, if I can down tier into a Purdy or Jackson Dart, some of these guys that I'm just generally high on, right? I'm not going to go all the way down and say like, hey, I want a bunch of stuff and Tyler Shook, right? And I love Tyler Shook. I'm saying I want a guaranteed, like I want a Herbert. I want a little down tier that I can also get at least a first with, right? I think in the long run, if you're a savvy player, a savvy drafter, I can turn that first into a Ladd McConkey. I can turn that first pretty easily into insert great player here, right? And I think the culmination of like, hey, I'm going to have a championship winning piece plus a quarterback that can put up the within 2 PPG of Drake May any day of the week, but also might even have a better offensive line. I think it's a down tier, not a pure sell. We, in 27, we're going to have some serious quarterbacks. So sure, if you want to go try and get a 2027 first and hope and pray that the team that you sell them to gets injured and has a bad season and you lottery pick into an early 2027 pick, right? Like that could be crazy. You could sell Drake May, get a bunch of pieces back, and end up with an early 2027 pick and draft whatever outrageous stud is there, and we think it's going to be there. That's, I think, a potentially winning play with limited downside. I think the ways you lose that trade are slim. You need Drake May to consistently be, like, not even in Dynasty rankings, but in points per game. You need him to be elite. And the fact is he's been good, not fantastic. He's been phenomenally consistent, but there's guys that are scoring within 2 points per game of him that you'd be happy with that plus a better player. So consider that Drake May is sellable because people want to buy because there's a reason to, and you can profit if you put together the right deal.
Yeah, I was thinking in the middle of your take on Drake May, what is Kendall talking about here? I don't see a big reason to sell May, but what you're saying is that it's situational, and if you get like this unbelievable offer to sell Drake May, go ahead and do that, because if you go down a tier to like a Trevor Lawrence, you're probably going to be fine if you get the right pieces in return. I can definitely see that. I don't see why you don't compare Drake May to Jaden Daniels, despite the fact that Daniels got hurt, but Drake May is not somebody I'm counting on injury until it actually puts him out of games, because it's football. Everybody's going to get hurt at some point. That's the game we play. That's the game we like to watch. Now, that being said, I think Drake May's situation is only going to get better from here. And he still had a phenomenal season as QB2, 4,394 yards, 31 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions with a not flashy wide receiver core. So May's not Brady and he's not Josh Allen, but he's got the potential to be the next Josh Allen. I'm not ready to judge Drake May like that until he completes his 2026 season. And the Patriots are probably going to be looking good to return to the Super Bowl as the AFC favorite. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I am not rushing to sell Drake May just like you until I get the right offer.
Definitely, it's the right offer thing. It's a right offer. I think it's worth noting, right? There's a lot of people that would put like, I'm anti this player, so I want to sell him because I'm on the contrarian take. I find there's rare player opportunities to move and have some volatility where I'm in on a player, but I like finding opportunities where the market has their next golden boy. And I just fade the super elite consistent outcome. And I say, can I profit if the player is just 10% less of a historic career than everyone else thinks, right? And also it gives me insane insulation, right? Again, this is more of in a 10-team Superflex league, I am not doing this because those leagues are all about consolidating your talent. But in the deeper leagues where I have leagues where and this is true. I have I've got a 12-team PPR TEP, 3 wide receiver double flex. Like it's not super deep, but it's the standard. Like it's as deep as traditionally goes. Right. I should have won the league. I got second because I literally started the worst possible lineup anyone possibly could. I don't know what I was thinking. If I started any combination of my benches, I had probably won. It was one of those. But the point is, I got there with only 2 quarterbacks that I could start the entire year. Right. And they weren't top tier. It's because I sold, and I sold into just an absolute, like, my third and fourth flex, they were going to hurt some people. Like, their bye weeks didn't exist for me. My regular season record was impeccable because of it, and I was injury proof. I literally was injury proof across the board. Didn't matter if an RB got hurt, didn't matter if a wide receiver got hurt. And it happened across the board for everybody else. It didn't for me. So I won, even if my quarterbacks were like quarterback 12 and 13 in the week. It wouldn't matter. Everything else was too good. And I limited all my downside, right? And because that was the strategy, I ended up picking up like a shuck for pretty cheap in the draft because I needed to. And then, he was startable at some point. So I'm just saying there are some builds where I've seen a lot of dynasty builds, Evan, where it's like, all right, I've got Lamar and Burrow. Have you won a title though? Like, if you're not winning with if the players on your team are not winning you a championship, I think you should seriously consider what combination of players and where you should reallocate those assets to become a championship winning team. Because third is not a profitable position in fantasy football. You have to win. You can't just be good, not great enough. And I do see a lot of teams that do the elite dual quarterback that never give themselves a chance to win because they were never willing to pivot assets into different allocations. That is, I think, the thought experiment and consideration behind this.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. I mean, I think ultimately the point is that it depends on your situation, because there's a lot of the luck factor that comes in that a lot of people don't like to admit, that sometimes some years you're just fucking unlucky and you just got to deal with it despite having a good quarterback depth. So, without running too far on the Drake May misunderstanding hate train, let's get to my last buy. CJ Stroud, baby. Ooh, let's go.
Talk to me. I need this. This.
So CJ Stroud, unfortunately, had an offensive coordinator in his first couple of seasons that turned out to be somebody who was quite overrated with the pieces that he had to work with. The Houston offensive line has been awful the whole time that CJ Stroud has been there. I'm trying to remember the name of the offensive coordinator that the Houston Texans had. His father used to be the DC for the Bears. God, I'm trying to remember his name.
Yeah, I'm completely blanking on this too. Obviously, it's someone I hate, but I didn't do enough that I remembered him.
But I do know for a fact that they hired Nick Caley to be the new offensive coordinator for the Texans back on February 3rd, 9 days ago from when we're recording this episode. He spent a vast majority over the last 10 years with the Patriots and the Rams. So as an offensive assistant, tight ends coach, fullbacks coach, I think that this is a good landing spot for somebody like a Nick Caley. I have not seen any negative feedback on the hiring of Nick Caley. I'm sure maybe a more hardcore Texans fan than me would be able to elaborate better on that. But hey, man, working with Rob Gronkowski, going to the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl is quite damn good to have on your resume. Whether or not he's a Mike McCarthy or he's somebody who's just underrated like, I don't know, Marty Schottenheimer remains to be seen. But I really like this hire for the Houston Texans that could spell better days for a CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud has Nico Collins. He has a developing Jaden Higgins who's going to get better. He's got Xavier Hutchinson to piss us off and score touchdowns when we want our main guys on the Texans to score. He's got Dalton Schultz, who is not some exciting tight end, but he can get it done when his number is called. Cade Stover at least avoided ACL damage, so at least there's another promising tight end they have on their roster where I don't know if he'll be ready for week 1, but they also have Jalen Noel to step in when he's needed. He's not as exciting as a Jaden Higgins, but at least he's a solid return guy. So with CJ Stroud's situation, yeah, the offensive line needs fixing, but I think he's hit as low as he possibly can as QB 21 this past season. 3,041 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions in an offense that needs to get better. So I'm buying CJ Stroud if anybody wants to sell him. I missed the scrolling part of like trades that happened involving CJ Stroud. I don't know. how they value him. So yeah, I mean he's being sold for like a running back and a couple of picks to get CJ Stroud. Like if you can sell CJ Stroud for a second and a third, even if it has to take on a running back who's not going to overtake Bijan Robinson, I'm more than happy to do that for a CJ Stroud if I need another quarterback, especially if it's super flex.
Yeah, I think these trades are actually from one QB. I got to figure out how to get to the super flex here. I don't know if they have them out yet, unfortunately. So these are going to be a little bit skewed, but they give you an idea. I think he's massively undervalued. I mean, everyone wants to completely throw him out. I feel like the biggest thing is the price you can get on him right now. If I had to give some wisdom, I don't think it's a draft pick. I think a draft pick for CJ Stroud, all you can think of is, man, he used to be worth so much more. So it's like it's on the nose in your face. But if you trade a player for him, that's points on your roster. That's someone to get excited about. Someone you can have an emotional connection to, where you're like, I want to live in this world where I have this player, because that sounds like a better existence than what the last year or more was with CJ Stroud. Play to that emotional, connection, give him something else to root for and feel for. And I think you're going to get a nice value in CJ Stroud, and someone who could have, if he just gets a little bit better next year, like the upward curve, everyone's going to be on him and be like, oh, post-hype sleeper. Like it was just a coaching situation, AKA like Caleb Williams was buried compared to CJ Stroud. Look what's happening now. You could see CJ chasing that angle right back up, right? I could see it. I want to see it. I think we will see it.
He threw 3 touchdowns against the Cardinals and 4 touchdowns against the Ravens. The potential is absolutely there. It's just the system has to believe in CJ Stroud and actually get him what he needs, not only just for protection, but now he's finally got some better weapons behind Nico Collins that I think is going to be a lot better for CJ Stroud. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 10 quarterback, but he's at least a solid QB2 that you can bank on all the time.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And we saw the talent. It regressed a little bit. I've not seen a quarterback who played enough good, smart football games. There's people like Kurt Benkert, who a former NFL backup quarterback who did a bunch of videos on CJ Stroud his rookie year, who just consistently broke down the tape and said, dude, he is ahead of schedule. Things happened, but you don't just get worse like that. You can get a little rattled, you can get a little mental, but a coaching scheme will do that, right? Slightly changing jobs at work will do that to pretty much anybody. That similarly happened to him. The team was very different this year. So, yeah, I love this take. I need this take to happen. I traded Lamar Jackson to Phil for CJ Stroud at his peak. One of the worst trades I've done in my entire life. So I need to win this in the end. However long it takes.
The former Houston Texans offensive coordinator, I finally found it, Bobby Slowick Jr.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the junior, but I couldn't think of the rest of the name there.
Yeah. So unfortunately, his offense was not good enough for the Houston Texans. I think he went to the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken. Where the heck did he go? Dolphins. He's the new Dolphins offensive coordinator.
Well,
Yuck.
The weather's nice. Have fun.
Yep. Good luck, Dolphins fans.
Amen. Well, hey. That was some buy, sell. Hope y'all enjoyed it. We're going to be coming at you probably at least once a week. Again, check out our Discord. We are always in there. The whole team is talking. If you guys are throwing out some buy, sell, should I do this? What do you think? And ideas. The whole crew will get in on it. It's free. And I think it's a good time, good community. We got a bunch of drafts coming up. If you're still watching, we appreciate you. We are a drafting community. We are definitely a drafting channel. We do a ton of that. It's been killing me that we haven't been able to do it because the regular season, you got to do that a little bit from time to time, right? But it's time to get back to it. So we got Friday Night Mocks launching tomorrow. I know it's been under advertised, but that just means you actually got a shot to get in draft with us because it's been under advertised. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely get in, follow us, check us out. The Discord is kind of the main place to check us out. Follow all the channels. I'll pass it over to Evan, but definitely check his channel out. Check us out at the Get Right Fantasy Network. And appreciate hanging with us. Get in the comments. Let us know some players you want us to talk about next time. See if they make the video. Evan, what do you guys say to the fans?
Yes, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video, share it with your friends. If you have friends that are looking for some good buy low, buy high, if you have to, buy sell rather. Subscribe to our channels too. Follow me on Blue Sky, barelyfantasy.bsky.social. We got a lot more good stuff coming up. Just like Kendall mentioned, we're going to get back into mock draft season. You do not want to miss that. We'll be going live for that too.
Yep, you guys can always get in. We're going to do enough mocks where if you're in the Discord, you're always going to get notification. If you feel like drafting on Friday night, great, let's do it. We're going to start with some Dynasty startups. Definitely help us kind of figure out who is valuing who. Always fun when your Dynasty rankings come out and then you have to draft and see if you followed your rankings. It's kind of a way to, litmus test your own processes. So going to be a lot of fun. And then certainly we'll do plenty of rookie mocks coming up too. That's going to be real fun as we get into season. But hey, for the Get Right Fantasy Network, this has been Kendall. This is Evan Sather. Y'all have a great rest of your night. We'll catch you in the next one.